our quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission. And before we have roll call, I would like to introduce the newest member of our commission. That would be John Barker from Two Rivers Ford, and he represents the 5th Congressional District.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barker, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shaw, would you like to have roll call, please?
Chairman Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Galvin.
Here.
Commissioner Clayton.
Here.
Commissioner Fox.
Here.
Commissioner Kramer.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Melton.
Here.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Norton.
Here.
Commissioner Parr. Commissioner Parr, for the record, had phoned and let us know that he would not be in attendance today due to some health reasons. Commissioner Vaughn. Here. Commissioner Tomaso.
Here.
Commissioner Levy.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Evans. I thought I saw him. Commissioner Evans.
He's here somewhere.
Okay. And Commissioner Barker.
Here.
Welcome aboard. We have a quorum.
You'd look at our agenda for today, and we'd like to get that approved. I would request that the item adopt Motor Vehicle Commission mission statement be placed into new business. That would be the only change I'd recommend in the agenda for today's meeting. So if you look at that, let's see if we can get that approved. Clayton makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Second,
Commissioner Vaughn.
Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn. Any discussion, concerns about the today's agenda? Hearing none, Chair calls for a voice vote. Those in favor of approving the agenda for today, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. If you haven't done so already, if you'll take a look at the minutes from the July 24th, 2017 quarterly commission meeting, and we're seeking the same approval for it. Motion made to accept the minutes by Commissioner Fox, seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Any comments or concerns? Hearing none, Chair calls for a voice vote. Those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes from July 24th, 2017 commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ms. Shaw, do we need to read into the record the meeting notice?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
This meeting's date, time, and location have been noticed on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website, included as part of this year's meeting calendar since July 13, 2016. Additionally, the agenda for this month's meeting has been posted on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission's website since October 19, 2017. This meeting has also been noticed on the tn.gov website.
All for the record, would you note that Commissioner Evans is here, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Salesperson's appeals and dealer appeals. We'll start with Jeffrey Hayes of Oak Ridge Nissan, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Morning, Mr. Hayes.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, before we move forward with the appeals,
Yes.
Generally, after the appeal is heard and a decision is made by the commission, the question that the staff receives is when, if they are approved, when can we obtain those licenses? And I'll go ahead and make a blanket statement at this time. You'll be contacted within the week following the decision of the commission to ensure that your license is processed according to the commission decision.
If the commission wouldn't mind, legal will read just a brief statement before each salesperson will begin their appeal. In the case of Mr. Hayes, the documented conviction is for theft on October 5th, 2009. Applicant received a sentence of 5 years in the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114A1C until October of 2019.
Hayes, would you like to describe to the commission the events that led to this?
My name is Jeff Hayes. I've made some mistakes in the past. It's been since 2009. I've also been clean and sober for over 5 years. So I've changed my life. What happened, it disrupted my family, my friends, and everything. But now I've changed my life to do right. And with your grant, just know that I'm truly sorry for what I've done, and I'm trying to build my life with your help.
Without the appeal, 2019.
2019. Okay. Hayes?
Commissioner Jackson, what was the theft involved? What was that involved?
It was drugs. Drugs was the main course, but it was theft of property.
Share a little bit more detail there.
I was working for my dad, and my drug habit had gotten so bad, he actually pressed charges against me for theft of the business. He owned a company called David's Carpet. And now since I've gotten clean and sober, my whole family's got behind me.
Commissioner Vaughn, I've got a few questions. Have you had any problems since then? Any kind of...
Oh, ma'am.
Okay. Have you made restitution to your father?
Yes, I have.
Question, are you in any kind of rehab program now? Any current program you're working for continued rehabilitation?
I go to Celebrate Recovery. It's Christ-based. That's why I go to that one. Still go to meetings, and there's quite a few people at Oak Ridge Nissan that help me too. So
How often do you go to these meetings?
I go once a week.
Commissioner Galvin, how long have you worked at Oak Ridge Nissan, and what do you do there?
I've been there 3 months, I guess, and I'm just working in accounting right now. So just built business development's what I'm doing. So they trust me enough to bring in business, but I don't wait on customers.
Ace, have you ever had a salesman's license before? You ever sold
Yeah,
cars?
it's been a few years ago.
Worked for then.
Dean Stallings, Harry Lane. So
One here with you, sir, from the dealership.
process.
Would you like to address the commission, sir, on Mr. Hayes' behalf?
My name is Ernest Hartzell. It wasn't long ago when you all granted me my license. Since then, same dealership, Oak Ridge Nissan. I went in with a positive mental attitude and literally just destroyed the place. We're running record numbers. I'm now... I don't have a lot of history on Jeff. I've known his name for a while because he's been in the car business for a while. As far as me knowing him personally, I've known him personally for about 6 years. I do know about his rehab. We definitely cooperate with him in his schedule accordingly to that. We wanted to keep him on board instead of just letting him go, so we did put him in the Business Development Center because he's really good on the phone. His phone calls, I listen to his phone calls, I inspect what I expect, and far as any deep relationship, I really don't have one, but I do know.
Questions for Mr. Hartzell?
I have a question for you, sir. Does your company have a drug testing policy?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's random.
Random.
Of everybody that's employed, it's random, but upon inception of working here, you have to take a drug test, of course.
Commissioner Galvin, another question. Mr. Hayes mentioned that he worked in the accounting department, but you said he worked in the business development center. What department or what did he actually do during this time?
It is the Business Development Center, and what he does is he's over the Business Development Center, and that's why he calls it accounting. It's really what he does is he tallies up everybody else's work too that works up under him, and we get the numbers together and finalize it every month, and that's how they're paid. They're basically paid on production only. It's completely production, so tallies up their appointments, how many of them show, how many of them sold, and that's how they're paid.
Questions? All right. Is there a motion to uphold the denial or grant the license amongst the commission members?
Commissioner Jackson, motion that we grant the license.
Second, Commissioner Vaughn.
Commissioner Jackson to grant the license, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer Vaughn. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, chair calls for roll call vote. Yes will be to grant the license, and no will be to deny the license. Ms. Shaw?
Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton? Yes. Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Mr. Hayes, congratulations, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Eric Travis Cook, Homer Skelton Ford. Morning, Mr. Cook. Legal staff is going to read into the record the facts of your denial, and we'll be right with you, sir.
Of Mr. Cook, the documented conviction is for home invasion, cause for injury, on November 3rd, 2011. Applicant received a sentence of 6 years and 3 months of probation. It is recommended that the Commission deny the application under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114A1C until January of 2023.
Cook, would you like to describe some of the circumstances that caused you to have a conviction?
Didn't always sell cars. I used to work at a prison. I'm from Illinois. That's where my conviction. Department of Corrections, and I mean, long. Guy there. So we had a physical altercation.
Just sort of lean into the mic a little bit.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We had
you had an altercation. And
yeah, we got in an altercation, and I was arrested in 2010. I was convicted in 4th 2011, and I've served my time. On my release, within about 60 days, I got a job selling cars, and which is what I wanted to do anyway. And I've been selling cars in Illinois ever since. I met a girl that lives here in Tennessee, and I started looking. Fortunate enough to find one, and I didn't know anything about it. That we don't have sales licenses in Illinois, so this was all kind of new to me. If you want a job selling cars, you just kind of show up and talk to the boss and go straight to work that day. But
What was the conviction for? I missed that.
My conviction was for home invasion.
Home invasion.
As a note to the conviction, to the commission, there's a letter from his general manager in your iPad that the commission should probably take a look at. It's character reference.
I brought 3 of them.
I'm seeing 3.
Somewhere by email, I think.
Yeah.
One's a letter, and then I see email.
I have a couple of questions, Commissioner Vaughn. Have you had any trouble since this incident or prior to that?
I worked at a prison. I mean, we weren't allowed to get in trouble. Really frowned on that a lot.
I have a question. Whose home was it you broke into?
Wife's home. We were still currently married. Really difficult to explain, but when you live in a small town in Illinois, things don't work out your way if you don't know the right people. But yes, I was currently married, and at the time, the house was actually owned by her father. So technically, if we were married, then it would have been marital property. But since we weren't.
For the commission's reference, there's a statutory reference for salesperson's appeal on your iPad. I believe in the library it is number 4 on your iPad. And Mr. Cook's appeal information for his statutory reference is number 2 on the document. That includes some of the legal technicalities for his conviction.
I would remind everyone to please pull the mic in close to you when you speak, because I'm noticing out here it's not, you can't hear clearly for the record.
Cook, did you pay a fine or serve any time, or what was your penalty?
Oh, other than losing an $80,000 a year job and my retirement, I served 3 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections with the people that I watch over.
Somebody here representing you, Mr. Cook?
Yes, sir. My sales manager, Richard Kramer.
Yes, sir.
Richard Kramer, Homescale Ford, Millington. I think he was a little vague about that a minute ago, but Eric's a great person. I consider him a friend. I consider him reliable. Never had a problem with him. That's why I'm here today.
6 years for home invasion? Is there something else? 3? Okay.
Uh,
Where else else?
Eric didn't appeal the conviction. He accepted responsibility, served his time, apparently with no problems. Like I said, I've heard from a lot of people in Illinois, and I think they all sent letters of recommendation for Eric. Great person who apparently made a mistake, paid his time. So.
For a point of clarification, it seems to me that the commission might be hung up on the home invasion technicalities. And if you look at the very last paragraph of the statutory reference I included, it says, for purposes of this section, dwelling place of another includes a dwelling place where the defendant maintains a tenancy interest, but from which the defendant has been barred by a divorce decree, judgment of a dissolution of marriage, order of protection, or other court order. So that seems to be where the technicality came in, if the commission was having trouble with that because of the marriage relationship. So.
Anyone injured during this? Excuse me.
I got into it with just him.
Not your wife?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the license.
Second.
Motion to grant the license by Commissioner Schaefer Vaughn, seconded by Commissioner Lee. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, Chair calls for a roll call vote. Yes would be for the motion, and that would grant the license, and no would be to uphold the denial. Ms. Shaw.
Levy?
Yes.
Clayton? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries to
Mr.
approve.
Cook, congratulations, sir. Jimmy E. Mullins, Vance Auto Sales, Woodbury. Morning, sir. We'll read into the record your some of the reasons
Case
for
of
denial.
Mr. Mullins, the documented conviction is for rape on May 28, 2009. Applicant received a sentence of 8 years to the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Application may be denied by the Commission under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until May of 2022.
Mullins, would you tell us a little about the
Yes.
events that led up to
At the
this
time, my wife and I was going through a kind of a difficult time. A certain girl, she gave me the attention that I wasn't getting, and I made a mistake that going to last me for the rest of my life. I served 8 years in the prison system. I've gotten out. My wife and me, we've never divorced. We're together. We're better than we've ever been. My son's doing great. I've lost 8 years of my life with my family as being home, being a father, and since returning, I would like to try to be that parent that I wasn't, that I missed, that I did not give them. I worked at as a salesman before, and the owner, he's ready to hire me back, and with your help, I would like to have a chance to to be the parent and the person that my family needs me to be right now.
You were married when this event occurred?
Yes.
Okay, and you're still married?
Yes.
Did you divorce and then remarry?
No, never. She stuck
with you?
She knows the events that happened. My family knows, and everybody has stuck with me. I have 3 letters from people in the community that held positions as ones that I worked for, one that knows us, character letters that'll kind of give a type of person that I am. I know what happened, and I took responsibility for it. I would like now just to try to take responsibility for my family as far as being an income provider and, a better person for them.
Mr. Mullins, this is Commissioner Lee. Can you give me some details as to why, if it was, why it was considered rape?
Yes. First, it went on, and when I ended it, I told her to do what I was like, I couldn't do it. It was really, putting a lot of stress and a lot of strain on me and my, family. And second, she was underage, and so when I ended it, she went to the police, and that's where the rape charge came into play.
Questions?
What age?
Again, she was 15.
What do you do now for a living?
I'm back with the dealership as clean up cars.
Are you registered with the state now? Your status is?
Yes. I go to group. During my time in, I went to different programs in the prison system. I did different programs. I actually held a good job, a job in the prison system, as far as just trying to be a better person, I guess to say. But now I go to a program every week, I just really want to be the person that my family needs me to be right now.
Alvin, do you feel that selling cars is the right fit for you?
Yes, I enjoy. I love vehicles. I love working on them, fixing them, cleaning them, making them look new. I love talking to people. I love when people come in. It just makes me feel good.
More questions from the commission? Questions, the chair would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we grant him his license.
Okay. We have a motion to grant the license. Fox. Is there a second?
Commissioner Jackson, I second it.
Seconds. Is there discussion of the motion?
Before we vote, can we hear from the owner from Auto
Yes, he's
Sales?
here.
I'd just like to know what he'd like to.
My name is Randy Vance, of course, Vance Auto Sales. Jimmy worked for me previously for 5 years as a salesman. He generally done what I needed done. He was a great employee. He done what I asked him to and never had any problem whatsoever. But now let me clarify, he is my son-in-law, and I'm very familiar with the circumstances that surrounded all. Family knowed about all this for a year before he was actually come up and charged with anything. And we thought everything was okay, but then we found out it wouldn't. And it was statutory rape, it wasn't rape. It was statutory that he served time on. But anyway, his family stood behind him, and he's done good. And of course, he just back and needs a job, and I'm willing to give him that job.
Vance, your family has certainly stuck with Mr. Mullins. If Mr. Mullins were to be engaged in an activity working for you that would put the public at risk in some fashion, either fraud or some type of theft, would you be as lenient on something like that, or
done anything, or anybody else that worked for me that even close to that, it would be ended right then.
I would like to draw to the commission's attention that on the final adjudication order from the court, it does reference that this count, the document that we have, is count 21 and runs concurrent with count 24, but we don't have count 24. So I don't know if we don't have count 21, yeah. Basically, we don't have all the records, I guess.
What position does that put the commission in? Is there, could something come up later that would?
Well, the commission
Not
can
work with our
only
statute.
go off of the information that we're given from the applicant. Essentially, Ms. Shaw is saying that we might not have been given all of the information. I'm seeing here that we've got count 24, and it says it runs concurrent with count 21, but we don't have a count 21 from the applicant. And on the conviction sheet, I'm reading that the charge is rape and not statutory rape. And even though I'm not a criminal attorney, to remind the commission there is a difference. Statutory rape is typically of a minor, even if it's consensual, whereas rape is not consensual. I do have the statutory reference for rape included on the reference sheet for the commission. But as Ms. Shaw mentioned, it does appear that we're missing one of the counts. The commission might want to ask the applicant about the missing conviction sheet.
Statutory rape was my understanding. Of course, technically, I'm not positive.
Yes, sir. Let's direct that to Mr. Mullins. Mr. Mullins, would you talk to us about any additional?
I made a plea deal, and it wasn't charged with statutory. It was the charge is rape as far as what my plea deal consisted of. That's why it shows rape. And the charges, they gave me 5 charges, counts 21 through 24. There was 5 charges on that conviction.
5 charges, does that mean 5 occurrences that this gentleman was charged with?
And it depends on which conviction, but sometimes it's for each instant, even if it's with the same person on it as a separate. But I haven't done the research on that to know the answer to that question specifically.
It is
5 occurrences.
5 occurrences. It's what
all
I pled.
classified as rapes.
Yes.
All right. I think this is relevant. Did this happen once, and then she's charged, and then you were charged, and you went back?
No. This was over the 2 years that it went on, and I pled guilty to 5 counts of rape during that time.
How did you know this individual?
Relative of the family.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have another question. How old was she when this started?
15.
She was 15 when you first had the
Yes.
relationship with her or whatever?
Yes.
Or if Woodbury's a small town, and this young woman was related to your wife's family in some fashion, you had to know she's 15 years old.
I did. I took responsibility for that. I never denied it. When they came, asked, I took the responsibility then. I haven't denied it then. I haven't denied it now. I knew what was going on. I take the responsibility for that. I made the judgment at the time. I don't know where my mind was, but I made a mistake that is going to last me forever. I mean, there's no getting out of it. It's always going to be there. And what I'm doing now is I'm wanting to move forward. I've served 8 years, and I'm wanting to move forward with my life now to be I lost 8 years with my wife and son, and I'm trying to move forward to be a better parent and husband to them, with a better job.
Questions for Mr. Mullins? Questions, Chair would entertain a motion.
Already have a motion on the floor,
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman.
Excuse me. We have a motion to grant. Okay. Hearing no more discussion of the motion, Chair calls for roll call vote. Yes for the motion would grant the license and no would deny. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner Levy?
No.
Commissioner Clayton? Yes. Commissioner White?
No.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
No.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Barker?
No.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
No.
Commissioner Vaughn?
No.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
No.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Noes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Noes, so the motion fails to grant.
Owens, your application is denied, sir. You may apply at another time. Good luck, sir. Alex Hopper, Viles Automotive, Powell, Tennessee. Morning, sir. Mr. Goldstein.
Morning.
In the case of Mr. Hopper, the documented conviction is for sale or delivery of a Schedule 6 drug on January 24th, 2013. Applicant received a sentence of 1 year of probation. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 55-17-114A1C until January of 2019.
Hopper, could you tell us a little about the events that led up to your conviction?
I'm sorry. I'm really nervous. There's not a lot of people that kind of intimidate you, kind of like something that I'm looking at right now. When I was younger, I came from a great family. Had a mother, working mother, hardworking father. Great life, 2-story house, big yard. I mean, there's not much that I can say. When I was younger, I was young and dumb. I thought I was with cool people. I thought I was hanging out with the right crowd. I thought that all these people that were around me in my high school and going into college were my friends. As I can tell now, most of them are not. Half of them to a fourth of them ain't even with me now. I got caught up in some bad things. Schedule 6 is marijuana. I did try that when I was younger in high school. Going into college, I played at Tennessee Tech. I was a football player, thought I was the main man. Going around thinking I'm cool like that until I got caught. And when you get caught, you have a record. And when you're young, you hear this record, you hear this life, you hear this things following you around. But when you're young, you don't have that time to realize that the things you do is going to hinder you in your future. And now, me being 27 years old, when I got this conviction at 21, I now realize what it means that things follow you for the rest of your life. This has hindered me in every block and every stepping stone as a young African American for me to be able to grow as a person in this society. Now, I have done my fair research and I've done my time, I've done my probation, I've been to out-treatment programs, and I've not used this again. But in every single stage of my young American life, I've not got the opportunities as most people because I have had something to hold me back. And this is a representation of myself coming to you to ask for help. Not saying that I deserve it, because not one person in this room made this decision for me or made me lead to me being at this podium today. But I ask you to help me today in order for me to be able to advance my future, advance my welfare, advance my well-being. I didn't come from the most wealthiest people, but they showed me how hard work and dedication will get you somewhere in life. And I have that distilled in me. And I've always had that distilled in me, way before the charge. It was just up to myself to realize that and act upon it. And another thing that I feel that the charge actually gave me was the endurance to overcome a lot of objections. No less than about 2 years ago, I was in the same panel in front of y'all trying to get my server's permit, just so I could be able to be a server and work at a restaurant, and I couldn't. I was a 21-year-old person that would have to host in front of a restaurant and have younger kids, people that looked up to you, doing better jobs than you because you don't have the opportunity to be able to do that. And they gave that to me. They gave me the opportunity to be a server in a restaurant. Not only was I a busboy at that same restaurant, a host, I became a server, I became a bartender, and I became a manager. I was a manager for Bad Daddy's Burger Bar for an entire year. And I, for the first time in my life, felt accomplished. And then, you know, circumstances happened, the place closed down, and then I'm right back in the same situation I'm in. Now, I've been able to, you know, work my way up, figure out what's good in my life, but now I have an opportunity as a car salesman to make a better life for myself and actually have a great, stable income in order for me to have a better life to be able to portray to my family. You know, there's a lot of people that looked up to me in my community, and one of the biggest people was my mother. My mom and dad got divorced when I was super young, and my mother never gave up to me. My mom called me on my way here today and told me that she said a prayer for me, regardless if you believe in the Christian belief or not. But she said a prayer for me. That same lady was in the jail cell staring at me when I made a foolish decision 5 years ago, and she hasn't left my side. And those kind of people are the people that I have surrounded myself with in my entire life. Now, this is really hard for me. Like, I'm on the verge of crying because people don't know the success and the hardship that you have to come to get to this point. I thank you for your time today. There's not much more I can say but that I am sorry. And no matter how many times I can say sorry, this is going to be a part of my record. But it's up to y'all in order to let me know if I can continue doing what I'm doing to go. And regardless if I get this or not, I will be successful. And I want everybody in here to know that. Because at the end of the day, I have to make sure that I get myself from A to B. And B will always be better than A. So thank you.
Questions for Mr. Hopper?
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a few questions. Have you been in trouble since this happened?
Not a ticket.
Okay. Was this just for your own personal use, or was it for sale?
It was a mixture of both. The way that I grew up, I did it for myself for recreational use, and it just became all my friends knew that I had it. It came from we're all doing it together to, wow, I can make some money.
My other question for you is, what did your mother say when you were arrested? What did she tell you? Because you've mentioned her several times.
She told me to be the person I am right now, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Questions? Did you bring someone with you from the dealership?
Yes, I have my, I guess you call him the VP, Guy Thorpe from Viles Automotive.
Morning, sir. Would you like to tell the commission about your experiences with Mr. Hopper?
Yeah, we love Alex. We have some good dealerships back home. Mr. Fox is very aware of our reputation. We have a great establishment. We are pre-owned, but we send our people to train him. We put Alex through some training classes. We're actually hoping to make him a manager. He's friends with my daughter, so I'll let him hang out with her. But he came in and did an exceptional job. You know, we got the letter back. We had to kind of move things around. We've promised him that he's got a good future with us. And, you know, we stand behind him 100%. That's why I'm here today. I've been in this business for 20 years. It's the first time I've come to the commission. So.
Questions for the gentleman? Or Mr. Hopper?
I'd like to make a motion we grant the license.
I second it.
Schaefer Vaughn to grant the license, seconded by Commissioner Melton. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, chair calls for roll call vote. Yes will be for the motion, and no would be not for the motion and would effectively deny the license. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton? Yes. Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Hopper, congratulations, sir. Good luck with your career.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Timothy Marlowe, Metro Truck Sales, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Timothy Marlowe. Mr. Marlowe doesn't seem to be present. We would need a motion to uphold the denial. Do we need to read into the record the
Yes,
the
I'll just go
denial?
ahead and do that. In the case of Mr. Marlowe, the documented conviction is for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon on May 20th, 2016. Applicant received a sentence of 6 years of probation. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until May of 2027. And I've
Questions
included
for
the
Lee?
statutory reference for your information as well.
I'd like to make a motion to uphold the denial.
Motion to uphold the denial, Ms. Schaefer Vaughn, and seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, Chair calls for roll call vote. Yes for the motion, will uphold the denial. No, will, I guess, grant the license. So,
Commissioner Levy,
Yes to uphold the denial.
yes. Par-
Commissioner Clayton,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Melton,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes. Motion carries.
Motion
License
carries.
denied. Costas Sims.
Chairman Roberts, due to the fact that I know the dealership's part of my dealership, I'd like to be excused if I could, maybe in the audience or.
Galvin request is granted recusal. Would you like to join the audience, sir, and come forward, sir, and Ms. Goldstein will read the statute for the denial.
In the case of Mr. Sims, the documented conviction is for theft of property in the $10,000 to $60,000 category on June 21st, 2012. Applicant received a sentence of 8 years. Based upon the materials submitted to the commission, the application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until June of 2025.
Sims, could you describe the events that led up to your conviction, sir?
My name is Dakota Sims. I was a partnership with a friend of mine. We had 3 cricket stores. We sold 2 of them prior to, and then the last one we was about to sell. It was agreed that I kept the inventory, what was left over, and then I was accused of stealing the inventory after we had sold it. So at that point, they came to the house about 90 days later after we sold the store, and I got charged with theft of my inventory.
Been before the commission before, sir?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. Are you applying with the same dealership as
That's
prior?
correct, sir.
Okay. And you had a disagreement, apparently a strong disagreement with your partner in
Yes,
3
sir.
cricket stores.
Yes, sir.
And the one you thought was your store, you went back and took
I
the inventory.
kept my inventory, which was mine, you know. And again, it's bad partnership apparently, but you know, I've moved forward. I'm TSSAA referee since then. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. Part of the community. I have 2 daughters who just graduated college. I have a son at Trevecca. He's a junior. I have a 12-year-old. So just want to provide, you know, better for my kids and move forward.
When you kept this inventory, did you load it up in the trunk of your
Oh,
car?
no,
Did you
no,
leave
not
it
at
at
all.
the store and sell it? How?
No. Well, like I said, the agreement was after we sold the store. The last store was in Hendersonville, and I said, well, prior to that was some money owed to me, and he's like, well, let's just make an agreement. After we sell the store, you just keep the inventory. Like I said, we had owned 3 together, so it had never been any issues until this last one. So, like I said, 90 days later, that's he said that I stole the inventory, so.
How would this not be a civil matter? How did it get to be a criminal matter?
I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know if it was because I've never even asked
Was
that.
he standing at the door saying, "Don't take this"?
No, not at all. Like I said, it was 90 days later. The store had already been sold and everything, and then I got a knock on the door and said that I had a warrant for my arrest, so for theft of my inventory.
This testimony exactly the same as your prior testimony?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Some questions?
Schaefer Vaughn.
Have you had any issues since then?
No, ma'am. No,
Were
ma'am.
you
Not at all.
required to make any restitution?
Absolutely. We had been I'm on probation now and still making monthly payments on my restitution. Yes, ma'am.
Bring somebody with you, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mark Leffert.
Would he like to address the commission? Good morning, sir.
How's everybody doing?
Fine. He speak on behalf of Mr. Sims and tell us why you think he's a good risk for you.
Absolutely. First of all, I've been in management in Nashville area for about 20 years. Worked at 2 different dealerships. This is my first time believing in someone actually come down here and actually represent Mr. Sims today. I've known Cody for the last probably 3 to 4 years. I've watched him grow. I've watched him with his kids. I've watched him with his family. In his business practices and what he does now. And I really believe in the guy. I think that he can bring a lot to the table. I think he can bring a lot to the industry. And again, I don't think this, I'm doing this area, and this being the first time that I've come down to represent someone, that just shows I really believe in this guy and think he's going to do the right things and be a great leader in our industry as well.
Questions for this gentleman? Motion regarding this matter.
I'd like to make a motion, we grant the license.
Motion to grant, seconded by Schaefer. Motion Schaefer Vaughn, seconded by Commissioner Barker. All right, discussion of the motion. Hearing none, Chair calls for roll call vote.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton? Yes. Commissioner White? Yes. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Sims.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
luck,
Yes,
sir.
all right.
Good luck, sir. Christopher Dale Flatt, The Auto Lot Incorporated, Nashville, Tennessee.
In the case of Mr. Flatt, the documented convictions are for selling, intent to sell, and conspiracy to sell marijuana in the amount of 70 pounds and possession of a firearm while committing a felony on May 20th, 2010. For the applicant's most recent conviction, the applicant received a sentence of 10 years of probation. Application may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until May of 2025.
Tell the commission a little about the events
Yes, sir.
that led up to this conviction.
I've not always made the best decisions. Back in 2009, proud around people. I'd done drugs. Bad situation in my life. Since my troubles in 2009, I started attending Long Hollow Baptist Church. I was a member there. I served there. I also went through the Celebrate Recovery program there, and I'd done that for several years. I'm sorry.
Let me move you a little closer to the mic.
Yes, sir. I went to Pennsylvania for the last 7 years. I've been working there. I was working in the oil and gas industry, leasing land there. Oil and gas industry had tanked, so I ended up coming back. But I'm still on probation now. I've went through everything they've asked me to do. I paid off all my fines, done everything that I was supposed to do. I volunteered just yesterday. My wife and my 2 older kids and I, we all done a Habitat for Humanity homes yesterday. So I've tried to change my life around, try to do the right thing. Haven't used any drugs since 2009. So I'm clean and sober. I do the right thing now.
Those 70 pounds, how is that a one-time sale?
There was 100 people that got drug into this and then charged with this conspiracy. It wasn't that I had sold 70 pounds. It was everybody got charged with the same. I did. I'm not saying that I did sell marijuana. Yes, sir. I
weren't incarcerated. You were on probation the whole time.
I was arrested, but then I bonded out and I didn't serve any time for that.
With you, sir. Would that person like to address the commission? Morning, sir. We're interested in hearing why you would be willing to take this gentleman as an employee.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I own the auto lot at 2813 Gallatin Road. Pride myself, been in business this coming January will be 30 years. I've never been here. I've had very few employees, just 1 or 2 man show. I've known Chris and his family for many years. You know, he come to me, you know, told me his situation, had an opportunity to provide him a job, and willing to stick my neck out for him if you guys will. So,
question for either of the gentlemen?
It's upside down, so I apologize. Have you been convicted of a crime or been convicted of a felony? And you indicated no.
he actually went online and got the application and filled all of that stuff out, and I was unaware of that, of the felony. I didn't know. I heard about that after the fact.
Did he fill the application out himself?
Yes.
Okay.
Ask him why he
yes, sir,
indicated the
let's
answer.
ask Mr. Flatt to.
Why did you say you hadn't been convicted of a crime?
Step a little closer to Mike, sir.
I didn't think that would even make a difference, it being 2009. So, and I didn't have the paperwork that it requested. So I did go get the paperwork, and I did send it in to the state after that. The initial letter that they sent me back.
Other question about the application. There's a question not answered on the front that says, will your employment with the dealer listed above be on a full-time basis? And then also above it says that you're going to be a salesperson and a motor vehicle dealer. Are you looking for a dealer license or just a sales license? Okay.
Other questions? Questions? Would there be a motion?
I always have an issue when the application is not filled out properly or honestly. So I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the denial.
Hold the denial by Schaefer Vaughn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by
Norton.
Mr. Norton. Discussion of the motion. As you can see, the commission takes integrity in the applications very seriously, and not to make as to concerns. Yes, sir.
Once I did find out that there was a conviction, if it would have been someone off the street that I didn't know, I wouldn't be here today. I mean, that would have been the end of that. Since I do know him, know his family, known him for years, you know, I'm willing to stick my neck out. I mean, he comes from a good family, trying to do the right thing, and you know, I wouldn't stick my livelihood out there if I didn't feel good about him. So I'll.
Comments on the motion?
Commissioner Roberts, to clarify, the motion was to uphold the denial with a yes vote. If the noes predominate, there'll have to be a secondary motion to, or does that end it?
Well, that would actually end it, in my opinion. Yes would be to uphold the denial. No would be to, would not necessarily be to grant the license. Am I crafting that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. I think we would do a second vote to approve the license if the noes carry this first motion. Or you could amend the motion to have the yeses and noes mean different things. But I think it'd be cleaner if we did two separate.
Generally, we look for a second motion if this one doesn't carry. History. Yeah, okay. Any further? And you could also, the commission has some latitude in its decisions. It can, I think it can delay an approval, or there can be certain conditions, I think. We have done that in the past, and I'm not recommending that, but that's, I want to inform the commission that we do have some latitude. I'm sure legal will let us know if we get out of latitude, according to the new phrase.
Mr. Chairman, is there a corrected application on file? I thought one of them said that they had discovered the mistake and sent the paperwork back in. Is that correct?
Let me let you step forward again, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. We sent the convictions back into the state after they sent the letter out.
You sent a corrected application in? Is that what your testimony is, sir? The staff says they don't have a second.
I think what he's speaking to, I think he's trying to be, we're talking about two different things. The application was the original application that he completed, and that's where the false statement was. When it was detected through the review process that there was a felony history, they were notified with the denial letter, and at that point, he submitted all of his felony conviction documents as was requested.
That's correct.
But not another application.
Not another application.
Mr. Chairman?
We don't typically ask for a second application in that.
I'm confused on 2 points. One, why didn't they file a corrected application? And number two, the gentleman says he's known him for a long time, but he didn't know he had a conviction, so that means that he filled out a false application at the dealership. The dealership didn't investigate it and know that the crime was out there. So which is true?
That's a good point. And when we're here to determine if a license should be, if the commission should take the risk on granting a license to someone, that there won't be another occurrence of deceptive acts, fraud, those types of things, and I think that's
to explain our relationship. His father actually worked for me probably we were trying to figure that out in the maybe late 90s. In that time, well, he had actually, he was actually younger. He'd moved away, so my contact or day-to-day activities of what was going on in his life, I didn't know. When he did move back, he called and asked me, hey, what about, a job helping you down there? And I said, well, let's fill out an application and, we'll go from there. So I didn't know, I wasn't involved in his day-to-day activities to know that he had been in trouble. I mean, that was a surprise to me as well. So, and once we got the letter back on the denial, we were asked to provide the legal documents, which he got. So, I mean, we weren't told that we had to do another application. So, if that makes sense.
Other questions? All right. Chair will call a roll call vote right after this clarification. Yes would be for the motion to deny. No would be voting against the motion. Doesn't conclude our work. I'm going to go at it that fashion. That won't conclude our work as to giving this applicant a decision. But you're for the motion to deny, or you're voting against the motion to deny. Oh.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes to uphold the denial.
Commissioner Clayton? Yes. Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
No.
Commissioner Galvin?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
No.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
No.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion fails. It's one. Motion carries to uphold the denial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the denial.
That you may apply at a different, at another time. Thank you for your time, sir. Mitchell Timothy Horn, Florence and White, Smithville, Tennessee. Morning, sir.
In the case of Mr. Horn, the documented conviction is for sale of a controlled substance on December 11th, 2011. Applicant received a sentence totaling 4 years to the Tennessee Department of Corrections and/or probation. It is recommended that the Commission deny the application under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until December of 2020.
Mr. Horn, would you describe to the Commission some of the events that led up to your conviction and what you're doing now, sir?
Yes, sir. I sold 4 pain pills to a guy that I worked with at Cookville Honda. It was a mistake. It was an error in judgment. I'm very sorry for it. Along with that, I have paid for that mistake dearly. I spent 15 months in jail. I was released on parole. Completed a halfway house program. I've taken, I think, 9 or 10 drug tests over the past 5 months since I've been out, passed all of them. I'm paying my pro fees and my fines at court, and also taking a course. I drive from Smithville to Cookville every Friday. It's a pro social skills course. Everything seems to be going okay as far as that goes right now. Like I said, it was a mistake, and you know, I've been selling cars for 15 or 16 years, and I would just like the opportunity to get my life fully back on track and get my sales license back. If you could please grant those for me.
Questions from the Commission?
This Commissioner Lee, I've noticed here that you'd been in the military and had a, am I looking at the wrong one?
Goldstein, normally the memorandums indicate when the person's denial could be denied until. This recommendation, this memorandum has a specific recommendation that we deny the application. Is there a reason for that stronger language in this memorandum?
Yes, we have now changed. This denial was written in June, and we have currently changed it to may or may not under the statute. It's cleaner language coming from legal because it is the Commission's decision. and not legal's decision on whether or not to deny. So instead of saying recommendation like I did here in June, the updated ones, you'll see the denials that are from like September or August, say may deny or may not deny. Kind of leaves the power of the decision with the commission.
There's nothing significant about this language other than you've
There's
changed the wording that you all use in your
That's
memorandum.
correct. That's correct.
Commissioner Jackson, I want to make sure I understood. You sold 4 pain pills to a coworker. Were you at work?
No, it didn't happen at work, no.
Well, tell me a little bit about how did the law enforcement find out about it?
Told them.
So this was a friend or just a coworker? So he reported to the police department that you just sold him 4 pain pills. Gee.
Warren, you've been here before, haven't you? Okay.
The issue before was the paperwork again.
I was going to ask
Don't wanna
Ms.
go on
Goldstein the
record
same
stating
thing.
that. We could ask Mr. Horn if he knows, but, you know, actually, he wouldn't know. We don't state a reason for denial, so I don't
Just remember.
much conjecture.
I do recall that being a sticking point of the prior discussion, and I noticed that the application is the one from May. Was there a new application sent in that had a different answer or not?
I have to defer to legal on that.
I would have to defer to Jason. I'm not the one that receives the applications initially, so
I don't receive them either. As far as I know, we've not received a new application for Mr. Horn. There's a policy in place to have an applicant submit a new application had they been denied for
Typically, just for clarification for the commission, if we receive an application and there is a false statement in that application, rather than saying, oh, there is a information on here that's incorrect, we've detected that, now you need to resubmit another application with the truth on it, we present the application as it was originally represented to us, rather than notifying them and saying we need to get one with the proper answer, because the obviously we want to present it as it was originally represented to us.
But in this situation, it appears the application was denied. So to start the process again, wouldn't there have been a new application submitted?
There should have been, if the individual had gone to a new dealership, that new dealership, have you gone to a new dealership, sir? Okay, and you just reapplied to come before the commission again? Okay, so you right back where you were last time with the same application. You just petitioned to come back in a second time on the same application? Correct. Okay. Are you still working with that dealership? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Is that dealer representative with you today? Yes, ma'am. Okay. But you just petitioned to come back on the same application? Okay.
Was that original application filled out correctly? Was there?
No, the answer was, have you ever been convicted of a felony? The answer was no. And I recall discussing that as part of our denial. I don't want to have the same conversation again. Right.
Well, it seems like it's almost a procedural issue for me that we denied it. It doesn't sound like we required a second application, even if it's with the same dealer, and a new application to become a dealer with the same dealership.
So I think the question gets to, is the application that we have, the original one that was denied due to incorrect information?
That's correct. The commission's already made a decision on the application that was submitted. Typically, what we will do if there is an applicant, since the commission meets quarterly, if there is someone who is really insistent on coming before the commission at a very close time frame, we don't want to have any applicant have to wait another 3 months before the commission meets again, because If they feel like they should be considered for an appeal on a denial, we'll go ahead and allow them to come before the commission so as not to cause a hardship. And this individual was one of those individuals that was insistent to come back before the commission in that short time frame, and so that's the result.
Mr. Horn, would you like to address the commission specifically about this application? Did you fill out the application incorrectly or misinform the commission on your original application, which we are now hearing now?
My girlfriend filled out the application. I didn't know that it said no until the day I come up here in front of the commission, to be honest with you.
I want to say to the commission that that was filled out incorrectly then, and agree to that. All right. Don't know what value that is.
I guess I'm still confused. After the previous denial, there's a choice of paths the individual could have made. Could they have could they have submitted a new application with correct information? Would that have taken any longer to get here today than the process he did choose?
It would not have taken longer if he had submitted it earlier enough. Quite frankly, this individual contacted us on October 17th. This is the 23rd, and was very insistent on appearing before this commission, and we accommodated the fact that they be put on the agenda today.
So the timeline is that in May, the application was sent in to the commission. The staff got it. We had a quarterly meeting, I think it was July 24th, and that is when the commission denied the application. Input from commission members as to status of that application. I don't think we can ask for a reason it was denied unless we state that in a motion. So we're going to look at this as.
If I may add, the last time I was here, I wasn't asked for a new application, and you guys told me that all I had to do was reapply for the.
Hold on one second, sir. I'm giving instructions to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right. I don't think that we should consider why the application was filled in incorrectly in July. Or I'm sorry, why the applicant was turned down in July. But I think that we can know that we have an application that is still. We have an application now that's filled out incorrectly.
Commissioner Lee, so what's changed? I mean,
nothing.
So why are you back?
I was denied my sales license, and I would like the opportunity to get back to work selling cars. The application was wrong. When you guys sent me my denial, my original denial, you asked me for the paperwork from the court. I sent that in. And as far as the application goes, like I said, I wasn't asked for a new application, so I didn't submit a new application. That is correct.
Bring somebody with you, sir. Would that person like to address the commission? Morning, ma'am. What was your relationship to Mr. Horn?
Adria White, and I'm an internet manager there, and he's been working with me to basically, he's been doing kind of what I would consider humbling work. He's been detailing cars, being a driver for us back and forth to the auto auction, that type of thing, helping our salespeople get certified and learning the computer system, that type of thing. And the reason that I'm here again with Tim for the second time is that he has made a difference. He has changed. I've noticed that he worked for us a couple years ago, and I can see a difference in his character since he has served his time. And when he came to us back in May, he came to us as a new Tim, the person that I believe he is now. He was humbled, he was focused and very caring, and I could tell that he wanted to sell cars, he cared about people, and he's probably not going to say this, but I believe, and I don't want to be too personal, Tim, but I believe that when he committed the crime he did, I don't think he was in a sober state. I don't mean necessarily, I know he was on pain medication, but he had some issues with his mother being ill. She passed away, and he was very torn about that. And recently his sister passed away while he was incarcerated, and that's the only family that he's really had. And we've kind of taken him under our wing this past summer and throughout the past couple months, and we told him about how second chances work and about honesty and integrity and how you can really gain control of your life if you're honest and you just tell us the truth and you be the person that we know you can be. And Tim's being that person. And so we think that if you could give him the opportunity to the career path that he's chosen that he would like to do as a salesperson, if you would give him that opportunity to regain his sales license, I think he could get back on the path of what he would like to do as a salesperson and move forward with his life, because he's really, truly in a clear state of mind now in a way that I've never seen him, and I'm very proud of Tim. He's helped us out, not just at the dealership, but personally. I mean, he did volunteer work for Drive for Your School for the community. He came to our home, our property, and helped clear out weeds, even got poison sumac. Sorry. But, I mean, he's really helped us out a lot, and I'm proud of Tim. I've seen a huge difference in Tim over the last few years, and I'm very proud of the person that he's become. So, you know, I am here on a not just a professional level, but a personal level.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. The commission just turned down an applicant for an applicant in regards to prior conviction. Since there's not a new paper application, Mr. Horn, I want to say something about this. We don't have a limit, as far as I know, to the number of times that a person can apply for a salesperson's license. So if you want to proceed with when you have a form that's filled out incorrectly, and if the Motor Vehicle Commission is consistent, your chances would not be very good. Now, you have a right to an appeal. We can continue the way that we're going. Doesn't go your way and you're turned down twice.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
You said this was the same situation. And in my case, sir, this is my second time here, and that was the reason I was turned down the first time. The other applicant, this is his first time here, and had I known to submit a new application, certainly I would have correctly. So
we hear that. Now, my question right now is, do you want to continue, or do you want to, had you rather apply with a correct application? Because you just have the one that was.
Well, I have to wait 90 more days, right?
For an appeal, yes. Now, let me ask about latitude. And I'm not trying to direct the commission. I'm looking for options. Yes, sir. Mr. Levy?
I think I'm the one who started this mess by pointing out the
Well, that's a
issue.
valid question.
I think we're concerned with I'm concerned with the process. And I can validly understand that if a person was here in July and was denied, that there's not an automatic, you must resubmit an application. A person, car dealers, they're not government professionals going through the appeal process. If you go back to the original application, on the first page, he indicated that he'd had a license before and it had been returned to the state. So it's inconsistent with the second question where he said he'd never had a license taken away before. So I can see the error in filling out the original paperwork that may or may not have been intentional. Had he done what we now, in hindsight, would have preferred that he had done, or what I would have preferred that he had done, of submitting a new application with corrected information, and he had done it in a timely fashion, if he'd been clearly told to submit a new application, he'd be here today with a corrected application, and it's of a offense and with proper support from the dealership and proper contrition from himself, that I probably would find myself voting in favor of it. So I don't want us to get in the way and become too overly technical. I think the additional 90 days that he had to wait to get this license or to have a vote on a license of a corrected application has occurred. So I feel comfortable that although there is still a paperwork error, I feel that the purpose of this commission to make sure a person understands has been fulfilled. So for starting the whole problem, I apologize, but that's how I feel, and I feel comfortable that I could proceed on a vote.
I totally agree with that. My only question is actually for legal. Could we have a motion that first requires him to fill out the application correctly, and then it gives him the approval to get his license?
I think that would be appropriate, and it seems that there is a miscommunication issue. I think moving forward, we can be clear with our applicants who come for appeal that they have to reapply
if it's
before they
incorrect.
appeal again.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we grant the license contingent on you filling out the application correctly, and that the staff has all the information that they need.
Second that motion.
Would I recognize the motion? Could we put a timeline on that?
30 days.
Amended motion for 30 days?
Correct.
Seconded by the original second.
I would have a question, if you don't mind, Commissioner Lee. Mr. Horn, there's something, I mean, I've got all the information. I feel fairly comfortable with it. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is somebody that's trying to do the right thing, and as important as this was, why did your girlfriend fill out the application?
The employee packet at Florence and White Ford is about that thick, and I had filled out part of it, and I worked late one night. Adra had asked me for the packet back the next day. I didn't get home about 10 o'clock that night, and I just asked her if she could do it. I wasn't even sure what had been filled out yet and what hadn't. So, to be quite honest with you, I was just tired and asked her to fill out the rest of it for me so I could take it into Adra in the morning.
Questions or discussion? Commissioner
Just one question. Did you sign that application where she checked the box incorrectly?
I did. I'm sure I did.
That application also requires the dealer's signature as well.
Questions or
Chairman?
discussion of the motion?
There's two problems here. One is the dealer signed the agreement. They all understood why it was turned down in July. So why didn't they correct the whole package? I mean, this is crazy. The people coming in here applying for an appeal and not submitting a complete new package of application, truthfully. That's the problem. That's common sense that ought to be corrected.
For the comments?
Both on the dealer's behalf and both on the salesperson.
I would go back to what Mr. Levy's saying. I think it's pretty, the process is skewed, and there's no process that would tell somebody once they're turned down, if they come back, that they've got a complete. So I think Mr. Levy's point's well taken. I think it's, we need a process that's shown to the people who are denied that this is what they need to do. And I don't think we have that. We're just telling them, hey, you come back for another hearing if you'd like, but we don't make that clear to the applicant. And I think what Mr. Levy brought up is very, very true. I think that's where the confusion comes from, is that we don't have a process in place.
May I add, please, the letter that they receive contains a statement that says, please obtain your final judgment and resubmit your application. And these letters have all been viewed and reviewed through the legal division for the process.
Yeah, and I want to add this. This is not about me, but when someone is denied, typically I instruct that person, you may reapply. Now, I say that you have to put in a new application, but I say you reapply. But I think our 2 points are, is the process clear? And then the other point that we're hearing is there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes along with being a sales representative. Oh, you have an application on file that's incorrect, I would want it corrected.
Yeah, I'd like to add something if I could. I think there is technicalities on how the application was received and was it skewed. But I think it all hangs in the balance on the integrity of the application originally. I mean, do we believe him that his girlfriend did it? I mean, we just basically sent a man away from here that we question his integrity, and I think that's where the sticking point with me is do we really believe him that his girlfriend did it? The rest of it's just a technicality. I'd hate to hold a guy up for 90 days to give him his license if I believe the story that he really didn't intentionally do that, because otherwise the rest of it's just a technicality.
Another point. Mr. Shaw, you mentioned that he called on October 16th, and he was very urgent of getting this appeal in. My question is, when that happens, and you said, yes, come on, or whoever says that, do you guys go back and look to see if a new application has been brought in, or you say, hey, well, or Mr. Horn, you hadn't filled out your application, you need to do that first before you can come in? I'm just trying to figure out during that urgency.
To establish the denial, and we attempt to hold them to, is it 10 days? Notify us to at least 10 days, 20 days prior to the commission meeting, because it does push us when you come at the last minute to prepare everything properly for the commission to be presented. However, in prior situations such as this, legal has directed us that we need to move them onto the agenda as quickly as possible to prevent any hardship on the applicant, so that they're not delayed from being able to go to work. So,
and that's in the case that the applicant is denied initially for the first time. I don't think legal has mentioned that we wouldn't want a new application if someone was trying to get on the docket. Again, if you'll notice, my denial letter is dated June 19th, 2017. So it was my original denial letter from the first application that the commission has already decided on.
It's very uncommon for an individual to come back like this.
Yeah, there's not a new denial letter from legal. The same decision as the commission did. It seems that this process might need to be corrected in some way with a reapplication communication and a new denial letter before someone would come back for a second appeal.
Last guy is our example to make sure he understands if he wants to reapply, he has to fully reapply with a
New, the word new needs to be added.
with a new, honest.
It must be corrected. It is not.
That's not what our motion is right now.
Well, the motion, as the current pending motion, requires a corrected application.
In 30 days.
As
By this applicant, and
By this
not as a process, but as this applicant. I want to separate the process from this gentleman's case. So we can certainly talk about the process at a later time. Facts that are before us. So, any more discussion of this motion? Let's restate the motion.
Motion is to grant the license with a new corrected application to be received within 30 days of today's vote. Is that correct?
Roll call vote, and yes will be for the motion, and no will be against the motion. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
No.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Oh.
Motion carries.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Horn.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, we take a short break, 10 minutes.
Oh, we still have one more salesperson application. Did you want to finish that before we took a break? Or did you want to go ahead with the break?
Is this an emergency break?
We'll go.
Okay.
Did you see the cup I brought? Filled it up twice. There's a hack. Let's get rolling.
Greg Plott, Long of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Case of Mr. Plott, the documented conviction is for theft in February of 2014. Applicant received a sentence of 2 years of probation. Applicant also owed a restitution of over $43,000. It is recommended to the commission, note this one is from July. It is recommended to the commission that the application be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until February of 2021. So legal's amended last statement would be that the commission may deny this application under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A1C until February of 2021.
Good morning, sir. Could you describe the events that led up to this conviction, sir?
My name's Greg Plott, currently with the Long of Chattanooga. I was in the Air Force, did 22 years, retired, honorable discharge. I was actually in the Georgia Air National Guard when this right before all this happened. First part of in 2011, when I got back from Afghanistan, I started working as the senior NCOIC in charge of supply. And there's certain equipment items that you can have in supply that are issued to individuals that are considered what they call in military XB3, which is basically if they break, if it gets torn, you do not have to turn it in. You can just throw it away and then reissue new equipment to the individuals. While I was in this position, we had some like Gerber tools, Leathermans, things to that nature, and some other items or XB3 items that were getting ready to be thrown away. But I had talked to my chief and my commander and got approval to where instead of throwing them away, they said I could have them, just take them, do whatever I want to with them. I take them home, I take them apart, put them back together. Instead of taking them back, I sold them. They were given to me. The only thing I didn't get was in writing from them. OSI was going on an investigation for some missing items that the Marines had at Robins Air Force Base. They came across some of the Leathermans and stuff that I had sold at one of the pawn shops, and they brought me in for questioning. I'm not going to sit there and try to fight them and tell them I didn't do it. I did sell it, but again, it was items that were given to me, and when they took it to my commander's attention, my squadron commander, support group commander, and wing commander tried to take the case from the OSI because they knew what was going on. OSI refused, so they told me instead of me having to lose my retirement, with me doing 22 years, that I could go ahead and apply for my retirement, and that's what I did. Got an honorable discharge and a retirement. 2013, I was taken in. It was around March time frame, and my conviction was in, I believe it was February 2014. Did 2 years probation, and I had a little over $43,000 in restitution. I'm down to roughly $27,000 or $28,000 now. I'm currently paying every month.
How much a month do you pay in restitution?
It started off at $250, went to $300, and now it's up to $500 a month.
Questions for the applicant, Mr. Plott?
What would have been the correct process to dispose of the materials that you had?
The actual correct process, well, if I would have gotten the actual written letter and signed from my commander, there would have been no issues. Any other way, you just take it and throw it in a dumpster.
Further questions? Did you bring somebody with you, sir?
I did, sir.
Would you person like to address the commission?
Good morning. My name is Tommy Nicholas. I'm the general manager of the Long Automotive Group in Chattanooga. Greg came to us from South Georgia. He was the BDC manager of a group of stores there. Came with a great reference. We have hired him. I would like to be able to use him more in a sales capacity than just primarily on the phone calling and thanking people for their business. And he's done a great job for us the whole time he's there, and I hope y'all would consider him a sales license.
I make a motion to grant him his license.
Motion to grant the license by Commissioner Norton, seconded by Commissioner Barker. I'm sorry.
That's right. I said it.
You all are beginning to sound alike. You don't look alike.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing no discussion, Chair calls for a roll call vote.
Clayton? Commissioner Clayton? Commissioner White? Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn? Yes. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, congratulations. All right. Are there are there any more appeals? 10-minute break, please.
Status as of July 1, 2017. I'm not going to read through that because it's in your packet, so rather than delay that, the process, I will share that information with you. Complaints reported or opened from July 2017 through September 2017, according to the information received from the Centralized Complaint Unit. We have 151 complaints open and a number of 193 complaints that were closed. The annual sales report cycle indicated, and this number is a slight change from what was reported last quarter because we did receive some late reports, and so it has increased by, I think, 30. I think the actual number was 31 since last quarter, so it's 1.1 million, 36,022 vehicles sold, 3,359 recreational vehicles indicated sold, with a total late sales reporting collections of $76,600. On our current performance metrics, our average number of days to license an applicant, and that does include salespersons and dealers, is 4.49 days. Obviously, when you combine the dealers with salespersons' applications, dealers going to take longer, but it's a smaller group, so it's going to make the number look smaller. So a dealer application obviously is going to take more than 4.49 days, but the salesperson's license probably go through in less than 2. So I did want to explain that so that you would understand it's a cumulative number. The productivity factor as set by the department is at 109.8. The customer-focused government goal is set at 200. We're at 276%. Compliance in for this last quarter is at 96.7% as of September 30th, 2017, which is a slight decrease from the last quarter. The Motor Vehicle Commission satisfaction rating from July 2017 to October 2017, the quarterly satisfaction rating is at 97%. The quarterly satisfaction rating as it's combined with the centralized call center is at 95%. The disciplinary action report for July 2017 to September 2017, total collections at $44,500. The online adoption rate for all profession types is currently at 59.1% online adoption for the 1010 application, which means nothing to you, but what a 1010 is they're applying new for the first time. And the two applications that is measured for the CFG number is if it's actually affecting someone getting into business so they can go to work. So there's priority given to those application types, and that's salesperson and dealer 1010 transactions. Remaining 1010 new transactions, there's a few types that aren't currently online, and that's because they represent a small number of the population in comparison to the impact that we could have overall on improving the level of customer service. And those application types that are currently in development to be brought online for the new online 1010 transaction is the manufacturer, distributor application, and auto auction applications, which is probably less than 400 to 500 applications of all of the population pool that we have. And then when you look at the number of new application types we receive in those those categories, it's going to be minimal in a year's time of the new applications we receive in those types. And we're having to rework and bring up to date some of the requirements in those computer system. But we are currently working through those. The fiscal year-end close information, as reported by the department, indicated that we had a net balance of $253,551. Since the last meetings that we've had, we have updated the we've been working on this a long time, so it's a huge accomplishment for the commission. The update on the inspection sheets for the dismantler, recycler, dealer, auto auction inspection sheet that you all passed at some of the previous meetings has finally received final approval and is currently being going through the implementation phase with the enforcement and inspection group. So when your field people come in, they're probably going to ask you a few more questions than they have before. Not that it's more information than they were looking at before. It's just they're going by checklist. Everything is checklist. The code is beside it, just as the form was that you all reviewed. I wanted to recognize, if he's still in the room, Mr. Chris Russell, would you stand up? Mr. Chris Russell, I think I introduced him at the last meeting, but he has joined our team, and you will start to see him in the back of the room running the computer system, but he does work with dealers and dealer applications. We have 2 new individuals. He is phenomenal, and we feel very fortunate to have him on our team, so thank you, Chris. You can be seated. Miss Rhonda Malik, who has been in the room with us earlier, has accepted a position in the legal division promotion, so she will be leaving us, so we'll have some other adjustments on staff. So I'm sorry that she's not in here because she's done an outstanding job for the Motor Vehicle Commission, and we're going to miss her. Also, I would like to point out that in the back of the room, if you didn't notice on the way out later today, that pumpkin that is in the corner, our office manager carved that pumpkin, and its teeth is actually in the shape of MVC for the Motor Vehicle Commission. So you need to capture that. We have 2 resident artists on staff. Mr. Gillum is, and Mr. Whitson, both are artists, and so I'm impressed constantly at their skills. So I bet you'll never see another jack-o'-lantern with MVC teeth.
I bet not.
On outreach, since the last meeting, I attended the National Association of Motor Vehicle Boards and Commissions annual meeting in Alexandria, where I serve as the secretary on that board and was reelected for secretary for the next term. I was also appointed to a working group with the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators to help develop best practices for regulation of internet vehicle sales. Both associations recognize the evolution in the industry and the movement to online transactions. And as you all very well know, there are a lot of questions that result from this, the innovations and the transition in the industry. And so these two bodies are working together to help develop best practices that then can be carried out to the states, that can view those as, to also have consistency among the states. And instead of each state having to develop each thing organically, it works as a collective body. So I hope that we'll see great benefits from that, and at some point in time we can bring some of that information back to the Rules Committee and to this full commission that will see great benefits for the industry at large. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Questions for Ms. Shaw? Is there a motion to approve the director's report? Commissioner Evans moves, Commissioner Jackson seconds. Questions or concerns? By voice vote, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed to the motion say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Page, legal report.
Good morning, members of the commission. Before you, you should have our full legal report on the iPad, as well as the supplemental legal report that was provided this morning. The commission committee for laws and rules, I'm sorry, was it your legal report committee? I can't remember the name of the committee, has reviewed this and did make some adjustments. Namely, there was a case that was closed. I apologize, I don't know. Do you remember the number of that case? Oh, sorry. One case that was listed as closed, we did adjust to have a penalty related to false, fraudulent, deceptive acts as it goes to replacing a cluster in a vehicle. That would be case number 135 on your first report, not the supplemental report. In addition to that, there was a case that was discussion as well. And then, I don't know, I apologize, what the outcome was. 127. 127 was also adjusted just to make it a $2,000 penalty instead of a $1,500 penalty, to reflect $500 per 3 open titles rather than $1,000 per 3 open titles. And there was also a represent 155 where the commission voted to keep the penalty the same as it was $6,000, but Shalina presented that in order to include a new violation for a deceptive act that was discovered after we originally brought it here, just so that could be properly reflected in the record. So if any of the members have questions or concerns about the report or any input that you all have for legal, we're happy to answer those questions and give you what we can.
Also, on the supplement report number 4, we agreed to add flagged on that.
That's right, correct. So we had a dealership close and go out of business, so we want to make sure that we flag that. So if they were to reapply, we would know that there's an open complaint in the future.
Questions for Ms. Page or the legal committee, legal review committee?
Second.
Jackson to adopt as amended and seconded by Commissioner Schaefer Vaughn. Any questions or concerns about the motion? Hearing none, by voice vote, chair calls for yes to approve the legal review committee report. Those in favor of the motion to approve, don't say yes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Okay, motion carries.
The other thing I did want to address, tomorrow, as you know, we have a formal hearing set with an ALJ that will be coming to join us. I know that there was some questions about the timeline of that, so I wanted to kind of briefly address that just so this commission knows. I can never guarantee how long an action takes, but in this case, I have not heard from the other individuals, so I anticipate it may be uncontested. If that's the case, I anticipate we'll be done well before lunchtime. So if that changes anyone's plans or allows you to do that, obviously the obvious disclaimer being they could show up with things I wouldn't even know about since I haven't heard from them. But I anticipate that to be over by lunch. Something else, I don't know if you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure, since I've been on the commission, we've had an actual possible, as we do our quarterly hearings that we're going to be here for anyway, and then we usually have a hearing date scheduled the day after. If there was some thought to scheduling, obviously we can't do anything for tomorrow's hearing. Schedule the hearings, we would indicate that they would start immediately thereafter. It's anticipated that it would be a short, uncontested. Save a day of travel to save a day of hotel. It would definitely be interesting to me. But I'd need to discuss it with you all as well, because I'm not sure if you like coming for a few hours and then going home and then coming back.
Paul, would you walk us through?
We just,
through the
for
scheduling.
general information and to participate in the discussion, we do identify dates a year ahead of time, and the calendar is approved a year ahead of time. And to the greatest extent that we can, we do take that in consideration. When this particular meeting was scheduled, we had 2 hearings scheduled, anticipated for tomorrow, and has one of them settled, canceled? Okay. So that it appeared that you're going to have a full day of hearings at that point. And we also have to coordinate with the ALJ's office on what availability they have that we can get an administrative law judge here. So to the greatest extent possible, we will do that. In those cases, what we would probably need to consider is flip-flopping it, because we are behind the ALJ calendar, really. I mean, we have to kind of go by what their availability is. So in those circumstances where if it was the will of the commission to do that to the greatest extent possible, we might have to flip-flop and put the hearing first. I don't know. It would each time will be a little bit different depending on what the circumstances of the case are, how long we think it's going to go on, availability of the ALJ. But we do have to coordinate even availability of the room. All of that comes into play as we organize these things, which is one of the points to consider when we approve our annual calendar. That's why we do that, because we have to immediately coordinate with 27 other boards that share resources, everybody else that shares the administrative law judge pool, this room. So I totally hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that, and we always do try to accommodate that. And with that information provided, I'll let the commission have its discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I fully understand that we have to coordinate. I just feel like there should be a way that we somehow don't lose the fact that we're all here today. We're all ready to conduct business. We've got the room. I don't know if anyone's scheduled after us, and it would just be maybe a more efficient use of our time.
I agree.
We will definitely request the ALJ to consider adding us for a day. It's actually not uncommon for them to have 2 days booked, with one, knowing one could be a commission meeting. I would recommend usually to start with the formal hearing, just because a lot of times you're coordinating a lot of things if we do want to go that way. That's something we can definitely. And then I guess the only warning I would have is I actually did one like this where there's on the same day only a few weeks ago, and it went very late into the night because a lot of times the judge doesn't want to coordinate everyone coming back. But we would obviously do our very best at legal to make a guess and to use what we have available to give us a timeline of what we think, how long we think these hearings will occur. But I think it makes total sense to try to have these come on the tail end of today or at the beginning of today, since you all are usually so efficient and done by lunch.
Well, and I also think that if we knew it was going to be a contested hearing,
Comments or questions? We need to have a motion to approve the legal review report. We haven't done that, have we?
Yes, we did. It's hard to keep up with
Go over
it
here.
sometimes.
Okay, so that would take us to Rules Committee.
The Rules Committee, of course, Liz has, the attorney, board attorney has had to step out of the room, but we did have, so I'm going to speak for a moment.
Let me recognize Commissioner Schaefer Long as chair of that
Chairman.
committee. Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Go right ahead.
Well, I was going to say,
recognize your
I'm going to speak for a moment because since she's not here, and asked Chairman Vaughn if she would like to speak and give a slight report on the meeting today, or would you prefer that I do that?
Go right ahead. I mean, it's fine. It
Okay.
was probably the shortest committee meeting we've ever had.
It was,
Lasted about
and
5
very
minutes.
efficiently
Yes, it's
run
very efficient. That's the
by
right
Chairman
word.
Vaughn. It was actually an amendment to the rebuilt disclosure form that the commission passed last year, and it took into consideration, this amendment takes into consideration electronic disclosure rather than just a paper form, and it was requested by the online auto auction industry, was actually represented by Mandy Young, who spoke briefly about that. And it did, like I said earlier, it did take into consideration the online sales transactions that is becoming more and more common as we move forward. So with that, I would defer to the chairman. They did vote to approve that, and
We had a very brief, very brief discussion over the change. Oh, here she comes. And wanted to present it now for a vote for the full commission.
Holstein just walked back in the room. We've just given a brief report from update from the Rules Committee this morning, and I'm sorry that you weren't in here.
I'll read the amendment into the record and then.
Can you read the amendment, Liz? I know it'll.
If you'll give me just a moment to get my papers together, because I just walked in. I'm sorry.
Take that moment, and then I have a moment I need to ask
Yes, sir.
Director Shaw something.
With the rules update.
Oh, the rules update. I'm sorry. I thought we were discussing the
Yes, the
red line.
amendment. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I was upstairs working on another issue for a potential last-minute salesperson appeal, so I apologize. I'm not sure where the commission has left off since I just walked in the room. So are you asking me to?
Just read the red line version for
Okay.
the commission.
Okay, so
I just
you've
requested
already-
that the amendment be read into the record.
So you've already updated them on the other rules that have been going through?
No. We just talked about the Rules Committee meeting.
Okay, just the Rules Committee meeting. Okay. All right, if you'll excuse me. Okay, so I'm not sure what you've already covered since I wasn't in here, but if you'll turn your attention to page 3 on the red line, the addition to the rule is in paragraph 4, which reads as follows. If a motor vehicle is sold through an electronic automobile auction or through an online transaction, then the motor vehicle dealer shall electronically send the purchaser the following notice prior to the consummation of sale. Notice, disclosure of rebuilt or salvaged vehicle. Pursuant to Tennessee Comp R and Regs 0960-01-.29, the following disclosure is required with respect to the sale of any vehicle with a rebuilt title, salvage title, or salvage history. The motor vehicle you are purchasing has a rebuilt title, salvage title, or salvage history. The value of this vehicle may be less than a similar vehicle that is not branded with a rebuilt title, salvage title, or does not have a salvage history. And as you can see, because we made that paragraph 4, the previous paragraph 4 is now paragraph 5. And the Rules Committee this morning approved the change. So now the change is brought before the full commission for discussion and potential approval of the rule amendment. And if the full commission approves the rule amendment, then it will begin the proposed rule process with legal and then move on to the Attorney General's office.
Questions? Motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner
Second.
Barker, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn. Discussion of the motion. Better do this by roll call vote.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Did you
Yes,
have-
we will. And I just wanted to take a moment and make sure that the commission members have read the regulatory flexibility addendum and also the answers to the Government Operations Committee. If you had any questions about legal's answers to the questions there, now would be a good time to ask. There's any questions, so if the commission wants to do a roll call vote to approve the rule amendment and also approve the information contained in the regulatory flexibility addendum and the Government Operations Committee questions, that would be our next move.
Motion is to approve the report. I think it encompasses all of it. Have a motion. No further discussion. Chair calls for roll call vote. Yes for the motion and no against the motion. Ms. Shaw.
Commissioner Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Melton?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts? Motion carries. Do we need a separate motion for the regulatory flex?
I thought they included
I
that.
stalled
Okay,
it to
I just wanted to
include
make
the
sure.
entire report.
Thank you.
I think we're okay. All right. Audit Committee. Audit Committee is made up of Commissioner Clayton, Commissioner Melton, Commissioner Parr, and myself at large. We, excuse me, in July we examined the entire budget for fiscal year 16 and 17. I also will give you some information on the prior year, 15-16. And that runs from July 31 to July 31 or July 1 to July 1.
July 1 to June 30.
A couple of things are for you to keep in mind as we work through this very brief report is that by statute, the Motor Vehicle Commission is required to not to have two budget deficits consecutively. So in fiscal year 15-16, we had a deficit, and in 16-17, we had a surplus. So to give you an idea of the, excuse me, of the expenditures, which have been pretty much level the last two fiscal years, in 15-16, expenditures were $2,003,382. For 16-17, the expenditures were $2,059,765. Now, in why do we have the deficit in 15-16? This is the other thing to remember is that license renewals are on a 2-year cycle, and it just historically, I guess years ago when we went to a 2-year cycle, the existing dealers were on a cycle, and so the revenue is every other year drops. So in 15-16, total revenue was $1,738,000. Okay, in fiscal year 16-17, because that's the year that most of the renewals come in, the revenue was $2,281,000. As I mentioned, we had a deficit in 15-16 of $265,000, and in 16-17 we had a surplus of $221,695. We'll be monitoring the budget. The committee will have another meeting in November, and we'll see how we're progressing this year. A little early for the department to get out a forecast, but we'll important that we watch it carefully this coming year, because this is a down year for revenue, and we don't want that deficit to get. If there are no questions, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the Audit Committee report.
Second.
Jackson moves to approve, and Commissioner Schaefer-Vaughn seconds. Discussion of the motion. Hearing none, we need a roll call vote on this, Liz. On the safe side? Yes. I think we did voice vote on the other reports. Okay, let's do a voice vote then. That'd be consistent with what we've done. Those in favor of the motion respond with aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Anything else under?
There are no other committee reports.
Okay.
Just a quick rules update for our status of the rules that the commission had previously approved in January and one also in April. The temp tags and dealer application rule that was approved in January became effective August 10th, 2017. And on your iPad, there's a brief summary of that rule if you don't remember it, but it was amended so that the motor vehicle dealers and RV dealers who issue temporary tags retain the receipts of the temporary tags purchased during the 18-month period prior. And then the rule that the commission approved at the April board meeting has been moving through the proposed rulemaking process and has received an effective date of November 30th, 2017. So we'll be coming before the Government Operations Committee to answer any final questions that they might have within the next month or so. But if there's no opposition, that rule, the 6633 rule, will be effective November 30th, 2017.
Right. we moved an agenda item to under new business, and that being a mission statement for the commission. From each of our formal hearings, the final order by the administrative law judge is that we give a mission statement. And we don't have one of record, so we've been authoring that at the order of the ALJ. Good idea to adopt one permanently, so that we can just read that into the record when the ALJ requests it. What I would like to suggest is we've taken this directly from law TCA 55-17-101. Is that the right law? Okay. And that law reads, and it will read the same as the suggested mission statement. The General Assembly finds and declares that the distribution and/or sales of motor vehicles in the state vitally affects the general economy of the state and the public interest and the public welfare. And in the exercise of its police power, it is necessary to regulate and to license motor vehicle manufacturers, distributors, dealers, salespersons, and their representatives doing business in Tennessee in order to prevent frauds, imposition, and other abuses upon its citizens. I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Commissioner Jackson, make a motion that we adopt the Motor Vehicle Commission statement.
I second it.
Commissioner Jackson and Commissioner Melton. Any comments or concerns? Hearing none, by voice vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Anything else, Ms. Shaw?
We have no other new business. We do have a comment from legal regarding an individual who has in the audience who has been denied a license. And Ms. Elstein, if you could address this.
Okay, so the application that I received was for a dealer application for Phoenix Wholesale. And according to our recent rule changes that are now effective to Rule 0960-01-.08, the Commission may deny a dealership application for a corporate-owned dealership if any manager, director, or owner of 5% or more of the company could be denied as an individual applicant under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114. So I was given a dealership application for Phoenix Wholesale, and the applicant, Mr. Brian Graham, has a felony conviction of aggravated burglary, on May 25th, 2011. So my memo to Paula was that his application for the dealership license may be denied under Tennessee Code Annotated 5517-114A until May of 2020. So typically we request in writing for someone to come before the Commission and have an appeal for sales applications like the other applicants you heard this morning. The Commission, to my knowledge, did not receive a written request for an appeal. So during the break, I ran upstairs to look into this matter further, and it is apparent that Mr. Graham previously had a salesperson application, but indicated no on the question of being convicted as a felony. He was granted a salesperson application, but here he's applying for a dealer application. But I've also been given by staff that Phoenix Wholesale is owned by, it appears to be Mr. Graham's father. So I think there's some questions that the Commission might need to ask, and I don't feel that this appeal is ready to be heard by the Commission today, given that I don't think the proper license was applied for in this case, and also that we didn't receive a written request for an appeal for this meeting today.
Applicant is in attendance today.
We wanted to be sure to, knowing that the applicant is in attendance today, we wanted to pull together as much information as we could in this short period of time to be able to present it to the commission to make the decision of whether or not you wanted to go ahead or was able to proceed, and that's what legal is charged with, is making the determination if we're able to proceed at this point, or we need to be better prepared and have an opportunity to go through the process and collect the proper background documentation so that it is better prepared when it's presented to the commission.
If the staff is not prepared. Put this up for a vote. I'll just ask for a consensus.
Wouldn't be fair, I don't think, to the commission, the staff, or the person applying.
No, I would just like to clarify to the applicant that the correct license is applied for. It doesn't appear, it appears here that it maybe was intended to be a salesperson's application. Maybe if we could get some clarification on that.
And we can work with the applicant following the meeting to make sure that they're better prepared to bring all the information before you the next time, which would increase their likelihood of success.
Direct you to do that. Work with the applicant and see if we get the process squared away. Okay. Are we ready to adjourn?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Enjoy seeing these two for the camping experience. Long time. I bet this.